Pretend a river is a person, and the party loves it. Affirm that a person is a person, the party hates it. Demand voter ID, you're a racist. Demand you give your ID to Big Pharma so you can have a pizza pie, the party loves it. You are only a person if the party agrees you're a person. That's where we're at, 2021, the United States. Bryan Suits joins us next. I've been wanting to have this conversation. He told us last week that he had intel saying they knew the bomber was coming to Kabul. They even had a countdown on the bomber arriving at the airport gate. We've heard now that the intelligence services had a drone targeted on the bomber and could have taken him out, but didn't. We'll talk to Bryan Suits next on the Todd Herman Show. You dude nodding, Brian? You know we're not yet at the post. Bryan Suits, you dude nodding out there?
Is it what?
Are you dude nodding?
Yeah, that's right. I'm pro nodding.
Bryan Suits joins us, 2 tours of combat on his country's behalf in Iraq, and talk show host, and thedarksecretplace.com, where you can pay money to hear Brian talk and buy things from him. We'll talk about that later. I've been dying to have this conversation with you. You told us a week ago you had intel from folks in the Marine unit that lost a bunch of people in this attack, that there were eyes on the bomber. In fact, that they had a countdown. Hey, he's this far away, this far away. Now there is a good reason to believe, as I see it, one of the former assistant secretaries in that department said that they had a drone locked onto the guy. What's your information on this, that they could have taken the guy out?
That sounds entirely plausible, and the deal is the collateral damage would have been unacceptable, for a drone to take him out. But what they could have done is at that point disperse the crowd, move the perimeter out beyond the Taliban, and just tell the Taliban stop sending people in. But then the guy would have blown up. And the thing there is the side effect is if he had lit off his suicide bomb and it appeared to have been a suitcase, he then would have killed a bunch of Taliban, which was not their goal. Because again, like I said last week, the Taliban conspired with ISIS-K to do this because they both got something out of it. But just the fact that we had, I in all my time, in 18 months in Baghdad, we never got information that specific. And then, had a countdown on that's astounding. And this story needs to get Lara Logan or something, or Jennifer Griffin, and because we literally lost 13 people for no good reason. And it could have been prevented. And there's about 5 of them were from down here in Southern California, Riverside County and San Bernardino, and these are the families that are really, really pissed at Biden. These are the ones that they, because they're so close to Camp Pendleton, they're getting this information, directly from the fire hose. That's how specifically the intel was, and they were the ones that came out and said, yeah, Biden talked about his son instead of my son, and all that. And I'm just afraid, in seeing how Afghanistan, by design, has fallen off the front page and the top of the news. Same with this story of the final 13 who died in Afghanistan. It's not even gotten legs yet, and I get the feeling that the White House, because Jen Psaki used to work for a network, that she's calling the chief editors of CNN, MSNBC, and saying, hey, if you're going to do an Afghanistan thing, can you do it in the D block or the E block? Maybe don't do it. And the Morning Joe producers are saying, sure, whatever you want, White House. They're dictating this.
Right. Well, they've dictated. We've watched a period of dictation of media coverage like I've never seen. It's been old school to talk about media bias and talk radio for 30 years. What has been so fascinating is to watch the coordinated cases when it comes to the COVID flu. The coordinated, what? There's no critical race theory. What are you talking about? Oh, critical race theory? Oh, that's in college. Oh, critical race theory? No, that's anti-racism. It is blatantly coordinated. Now, this coordination is going to extend into, Brian, in Afghanistan, this hostage situation. What are you hearing about this? Because the people who run Biden caused him to say, it's 100 people in Afghanistan, but some of them are cartoons. And then, go ahead.
And like there's actually hundreds and hundreds of Americans, not 100 like the State Department says. And the only word for the Taliban blocking these aircraft leaving Mazar-e-Sharif up in northern Kunduz province in Afghanistan is hostage, purely. And there's this one idiot on MSNBC named Naveed Jamali who he's there in Seattle. He always does his TV hits there on MSNBC. They're in Seattle. Total con man. Absolute made-up backstory. Total con man. He went on this thing about, it's the planes that can't leave, so I'm gonna just sit back on hostage. That's like the Taliban saying, well, the planes are free to leave, but we're preventing the engines from leaving. It's exactly the same thing. It's ludicrous. They are hostages, and they're holding them up north for money. They want the Taliban to pay them, or they want the U.S. to pay them. They're holding American citizens as hostage. Full stop. That's all it is.
So why don't we take the units we have at Bagram Air Force Base and the helicopters and the Blackhawks out of there and go seize the airport, or at least provide cover to get the airplanes out? Oh, wait! Yeah. So what else can go wrong at this point? Give me a list of things, your top 10 concerns, because I know China's going to go visit the newly formed government of Afghanistan, and Iran's going, and China's belligerently flying into Taiwan with their jets, etc. Is Biden ever going to be faced with a test that his people can allow him to pass?
I don't know at this point, because he's facing one right now. And he could pull his tarnished reputation out of the pooper if he did something with it, because the worst case scenario, and again, there's 3 classes of students from California that are also from 3rd grade to 11th grade with teachers and chaperones that are still stuck there. Worst case is the Taliban start marrying them off and they disappear, and we'll never find them. I mean, the women, the girls, and the boys too.
That's a horrible thing to say.
Yeah, and that's why you have to think like that. You have to think, what's the worst case? Well, worst case is the teenage girls are shuffled into a room, and then you never see them again because they're married off to Taliban fighters. Because hey, I married a 14-year-old American citizen, and you tear up the passport. That's what they're holding them for. That's the threat is if we don't pay the money, or Glenn Beck or whoever doesn't pay, because that's who chartered, I guess, 5 of the 6 planes. If they don't get something out of it, they're not just giving this up for free. It's just like Rod Blagojevich and the Senate appointment. The Taliban are saying, whoa. You mean let them fly out for free? No way.
See, the media turning on this. I've seen them dutifully running this picture. You've probably seen it too. We've got about 15, 20 seconds left here. The classroom where there's men on one side of a curtain and women on the other side of a curtain. Something about that, Brian, sniffed to me of pure propaganda from the Taliban. Because didn't they also cut the head off of a female police officer in the street in front of her family just recently?
Well, there's that, but you have to ask yourself, what did she do to bring that on, to be fair? It's already, they can't hide who they really are for long. And you're right, there's a woman who's been a female police officer, highly respected in her community, and they beheaded her because she was part of the old government, she wore a uniform, she carried a gun, and she's a woman. And so, if they do that, how much of a leap is it to marry a 14-year-old American?
Very good. Bryan Suits, thedarksecretplace.com. There's a merchandise store there. And I understand the chicks, they dig it. Brian, thanks for joining us on Todd Herman Show.
Anytime.